And Wisconsin, one of the top 4 teams, was fourth in my Goldmine top 25, fourth in the AP poll as well. By the way, my Goldmine top 25 is independent of the AP poll, for those of you that are wondering.
But it looks like it isn't.
I mean, yeah, of course, because I think that some of the top teams the AP got right. But I mean,
Mhm.
you look at the bottom half, you'll definitely see differences. I had North Carolina way higher. I had Richmond a bit lower, which is surprising because I didn't think the AP would gas Richmond up. I had Villanova a little higher, Virginia a little higher, but Wisconsin, consensus top 5 team in the country right now,
Yeah.
lost. They went to Marquette, a team that just lost to Oklahoma State and lost at the buzzer. Joe, I don't know if you saw it. It was a tip shot off like a missed free throw to take the lead. Like Marquette missed a free throw to take the lead with like a second left, and the Davis, their leading scorer, he tipped it in, or Lewis, their leading scorer, he just tipped it in. So I'm curious, now that we're talking about Wisconsin, they got a lot of hype heading into this season. They finished last year winning 9 of their last 10, 8 straight. And I'm wondering, do you think they're one of the country's best teams, or do you think this is from hype from the way they ended last year and the fact that they brought a lot of guys back and brought in some good freshmen?
I mean, I didn't watch the game because I had better things to do, like anything else.
Not a
Uh,
big Wisconsin fan, I see.
I'm kidding. No, I'm not a big cheese guy. No.
Okay.
Yeah. What's your biggest export? Cheese. Screw off. Come on.
Like North Korea's biggest
No,
import.
but like, look, they lost by 2 to Marquette. I mean, they're not. They're like usually not ranked, but they're usually not a bad team. Um, what I think it are they going to go down? Are they like not the number 4 team in the nation? Yeah, I don't think so. Uh,
Yeah. I guess what I'm asking is, do you think they're in the title contender tier? Because I think that that was a big question about them.
yeah, I do think. I mean, personally, you can never go wrong. From what I've learned, you can never go wrong with like betting on just the top 8 teams in the nation for a title contender.
Yes.
You can never go wrong because statistically, they always win.
Yeah.
Um, Now, what's interesting is like, yeah, they are still a title contender in my book if they, show their true colors against like Louisville next week again. Just, or I mean, not next week. God, I hate the ninth. Yes, so technically next week. Man, I'm still on that football thing, once a week games and stuff. But yeah, so next week against Louisville, if they lose that, then yeah, I don't think they're going to be title contenders. But again,
Louisville's not bad, Joe. Louisville's not bad.
I know they're not bad, but like they can't
I know.
lose
I
two in
mean,
a
I see what
row.
you're saying. I see what you're saying.
I mean, if to be a title contender, you can't just lose 2 in a row like this. And I mean, I know Louisville's not bad, but neither is Marquette. So like,
Yeah.
why would we be overreacting to this loss?
For me, I think it does illuminate a few flaws. I think Wisconsin struggled in their opening game, actually, barely beat like Eastern Illinois, I think, or someone like that. They beat them by 10, and people were freaking out. I think the thing with Wisconsin here is they're dependent on like hitting threes in some respects. I mean, they took 24 3-pointers against Marquette last night, only made 7 of them. They're a team that kind of relies on making shots, especially from their bigs. And as a team, they are very spotty with it. They'll have games where they go over 40%. You have their guards hitting, and their guards are not bad shooters. And Micah Potter and Nate Roivers can both let it rip from outside as well. But I think they sometimes hit games where they just go flat and they're bricking. And this was one of those games. The fact that they were still within 2 on the road, it's an important thing to note. They have a lot of talent. There's a lot of questions for me, though, right? I
Wait,
mean,
were they on
obviously,
the road?
yeah, they were out at Marquette.
Like, this is an overreaction. I mean,
I think it illuminates flaws. I don't
yeah,
think that they're not a
every
title
loss
contender.
does. Like, but
But I don't think it's one of those things where it's like you see a good team play and they just have an off night. Wisconsin had an off night, but the problem is the way this team shoots is very spotty. And in the tournament, they would have to sustain that for 6 games straight, or they just have to tough out these games where they're bricking. They have the senior experience. They have the guard play. I mean, look, Demetric Trice, Brad Davison, Aleem Ford, all very good. And their front court is good. Their starting lineup on paper is a very talented starting lineup and a very experienced one. The issue for me, though, is they're like, again, it's reliant on spotty shooting. And yes, they have the pieces to tough out games where they're not shooting well, and they have a good defense, honestly. But I just think I don't know if they can sustain that for 6 games. Do I think it's too early to draw conclusions and freak out? Yes, absolutely. I think this Wisconsin team can certainly get it going, and we saw them get it going at the end of last season. But I will say it is concerning, at least a concerning sign, that they haven't been the most consistent from the field early in this season, and this was really the first tough test they faced.
Here's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at like last year's example of this, but this one's far worse. Kentucky versus Evansville.
Yeah.
Kentucky, as we all know, lost.
Yeah.
But in the end of all things, they were a title contender they were like 6th in the country for, the odds.
Yes.
And this is Las Vegas odds, not rank. But yeah, I mean, it's one game. It's early in the season. Now, that one was worse than losing to Marquette, in my opinion. But, it's still early. Let's just not overreact like something like this. They're still going to be a good basketball team. And, I mean, hopefully it's always just random in this league and the NCAA.
I agree with that. I think the difference between that Kentucky game and the Duke loss against Stephen F. Austin is both those teams were really dependent on freshmen. This team is dependent on seniors that have been playing together for like 2, 3, 4 years. So for me, the concern is how much more can you develop? Yes, they have freshmen coming off the bench that can develop. Maybe those guys become key pieces. Those are the questions. I think Wisconsin is still a very good team. I'm not going to put them out of the title chase by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think you can draw some flaws from it and maybe say, okay, they got a little bit too much hype at the beginning of the year just based on how they ended last year.